Before you can use most of the different tools of the site, you'll need to set up your first class. Under the admin menu, you'll have to click Create a Challenge. This takes you to the challenge creation page. First, you'll need to give your class a name. This will appear for your students when they're trying to register, and it helps them find which class is which. The description will only appear if your students have already been in a previous class, but it can still be useful to have them help find it. The estimated number of participants does not actually affect anything in the background of the site, but it does help us keep track of how many people are using the platform around the world. Next, choose the currency of your portfolio. By default, it's US dollar. However, there's a list of over 30 currencies you can choose from. Then, choose your initial cash balance. This is the amount that you'll be giving your students when they first join your class. By default, we give 1 million. The most common numbers are 1 million, 100,000, and 10,000. Next, you can select the minimum stock price for buying. You can set this lower to let your students buy anything, or set this higher to disallow trading of penny stocks. Then, you can select the minimum price for shorting. This is the same idea. If you want to disallow shorting entirely, you can do that farther along the page. Next, you can set your registration start and end dates and your trading start and end dates. These can be set to be the same dates, or you can set them independently. Students will be able to register your class between these dates, and they'll actually be able to start trading in their portfolio between these dates. After the trading end date, their portfolio is frozen, so they can still log in and see how they did, but they won't be able to place any more trades, and their prices will no longer update. Then you can set your challenge to be public or private. Public means anyone on the site can join into your class. Private means that you enter a password, and then your students need to enter this password when they try to register. We recommend that unless you have a good reason to, leave your contest as public and make it easier for your students to register. Next, you can decide whether or not you want to allow Sharpe ratio rankings and rankings by alpha and beta. The Sharpe ratio is a risk-adjusted return, while the alpha and beta is also risk-adjusted but only works especially well for US equities. You can set these to on or off, and you can also change these as the contest moves forward. Then you can allow or disallow short selling and day trading in your class. If you disallow day trading, students cannot buy and sell the stock in the same day. They have to wait until the next day. The same goes for trading on margin. If you allow trading on margin, your students can borrow up to their initial portfolio value in additional cash. If you allow trading on margin, this happens automatically. So as soon as your students use up all their cash, they'll be able to borrow to use more. For create an assignment, I'll cover this more in detail later, so for now we'll leave this setting as no. You can always create an additional assignment later if you don't at the contest creation process. Fill orders on daily volume is a liquidity parameter. This tells your students how much they're allowed to trade relative to the current market volume. So for example, with 100% limit, if a stock has a volume of 10 in the actual markets, your students can buy up to 10 shares. If you set it to 200, if the stock has a volume of 10 shares in the actual market, your students can buy up to 20 shares. If you're just trading equities, we recommend setting this lower. If you're allowing your students to trade options and futures, we recommend setting this higher, since many option contract strike prices and expiration dates have a very low volume. Next, set your benchmark index. This will appear in the portfolio snapshot for each of their students to see how well they're doing compared to one of the major benchmarks in the world. From there, you can choose which security types to allow your students to trade, along with the commission structure. Equities trading, for example, allows you to set a commission per trade, per share, or as a total percentage of their entire trade. You can set the exact unit here, whether it's a dollar amount per trade or a percentage of the total trade, and a position limit. The position limit is how much of their entire portfolio can be in any one stock. So with a 25% position limit, if you have a $100,000 starting portfolio, your students can put up to $25,000 in any one stock. If you set it to 200%, they would be able to invest all of their starting cash plus all of their margin into one single stock. You can allow and disallow each security type individually and set their commission structure individually, along with their position limits. Then you can select which global exchanges you want to allow your students to trade in. The US exchanges all trade in real time. Toronto and most of the other global exchanges trade with a 15-minute delay. Some exchanges, like Ireland and Chile, trade end of day, which means your students can place orders at any time, but their orders will only execute once per day. Once you have your class set up the way you'd like it, you can click Create. However, note that you can always change as your class goes on which security types are allowed, which exchanges are allowed, and the minimum prices. This means that you can set your class up to start, for example, trading only equities with a $5 minimum stock price, but as the class goes on, you can allow them to trade options, mutual funds, and bonds with lower minimum stock prices. Once you create your challenge, you'll be taken to the challenge creation confirmation page. This has important information about the challenge you just created, and you will also receive a copy of this information by email. The two important items on this page is the contest invite link here. You can give this link to your students to get them registered directly into your class, and the assignment admin link here. This will allow you to create and manage assignments for your class. Once your challenge is set up, you can edit the rules of your challenge at any time from the administration menu by clicking Edit Challenge.